All right, welcome back to Genius. Okay, so we have been talking about list, and the previous session we talked about some of the operations we can perform in list. So let's continue and see more of these operations. So in Python, we actually have a lot of operations that you can perform on list. Okay, they include indexing, they include slicing. We have seen indexing, we have seen slicing. We have seen adding, okay. We have also seen how you can modify, all right. Then how you can also remove elements. Then we will be seeing sorting very well here and filtering and more. So there are a lot of operations you can perform on list in Python. So let's take a look at them. So what we'll be looking at, one of them is the sorting. Okay, how do you sort a list? When you have a list of items, you might want to sort them in ascending order or in descending order. Okay, how do you sort a list? Okay, like now, if you have a list of all the participants in a challenge, okay, this challenge that we are doing, okay. Now imagine that you have a list of all the participants in a challenge and they have their points, okay. So how do you sort them? Because definitely the top scores, the top people who have the people with the top points are supposed to come on top. So how do you sort it? So this is what you'll be learning how to do here. So the first one is that you can use the sort method. All right. When you use the sort method, it will actually modify the original list. So the list will no longer remain, the original list will be modified. Okay. So let's say you have this list now, 40, 10, 30, 20. If you sort this thing, all right, if you sort this list now, the original list will be modified. So it will be changed permanently. All right. So in case you don't want to change the original list, you want to work with a separate list that you don't want to change the original list, there is another way of doing it. So if I take you to our code editor here, all right. If I take you to our code editor here, so let's start. Let's say we have this list. We have 20, 40, 70, 10, and then 50. Okay. So if you say norms dot sort, okay, this list will be sorted and the original list will also be affected. So now when you sort this now, okay, and you now say print the original list, the original list will be sorted. It's no longer coming in the same order it used to come. So now you are going to see that these norms now, we just called norms.sort, okay, then it is going to sort the original list and this original list will be changed permanently. So if I run this code now, we are going to see it is sorted. 10 comes first, 20, 40, 50, 70. All right, you see, it has been sorted. So there's no way you can change this thing back. You can't change it back to this original state. So if you don't want to change the original list, but you want to just have a copy of a sorted list, there's another way of doing it. Okay. So bear in mind that the sort method would actually sort the list permanently. Okay. All right. So we also have you can also sort in descending order. You can sort in descending order. Now, one of the ways you can actually sort in this descending order is that after sorting it, you can call the reverse method on it. The reverse method on it. Or you can actually you can actually provide the reverse, this parameter inside the sort method. All right. So let's do the two. First of all, we are going to provide this reverse parameter. So if I want to sort this list in descending order, I will say reverse equal to true. If I do not provide this parameter, this argument, all right, if I do not provide this argument, it will be sorted in ascending order. That's what we have here. But if I sort it, if I call the reverse, if I provide the reverse argument equal to true, it will be sorted in descending order. So that means 70 will come first, 50. You can see it has been sorted in descending order. Another way of doing this is, let me comment this one out. Another way of doing it is after sorting, nums.sort. Remember, we have the reverse method. We talked about it last time. So after sorting, then you will now call nums.reverse. All right. So it's any way you do it, it would work. It's either you use the reverse argument in the sort method, or after sorting it, you call reverse method. So if we still run it, we are still going to get it in descending order. Okay. All right. So you can also sort using the sorted method. Okay, this sorted function it will not modify the original array. The original array will still be the same thing. All right, it will not modify the original array. So the sorted method, this is how it works. The sorted function. So let's say we still have this list. Okay, so we are not going to sort this way. We are going to use the sorted method, and the sorted method will return the sorted array. Sorry, I always say array because I also do JavaScript. And in JavaScript, this list, we call it array in JavaScript. So pardon me. It's just, I don't know. I can't just, I don't know. I can't do anything about it. I do a lot of programming languages and sometimes they just enter my mouth. So I'm so sorry about that. So we say the sorted list is equal to, so when you call the sorted method pass in the list, all right? This sorted method will sort it and return the sorted list, and you can now store it in this variable. So I'm going to print the original list, and I'll also print the sorted list. So you can see that the original list will not be affected, all right? So in case you would want not to change or modify the original list permanently, you have to use the sorted method. Now, this sorted method will sort it and return a new list without modifying the original list. So I'm going to print both of them. You're going to see the difference here. The original list nums will remain the same. You can see the nums remains the same, all right? Then the sorted list was now sorted. So you can also still say sorted list dot reverse in case you would want to reverse it. In case you would want to reverse it. And if you call this, it will give us, oops. Oh, sorry. Sorry. You remember, it doesn't return anything. I'm so sorry. So after sorting it, then you can now call the sorted list. So after calling the reverse method on it, you can now print out the sorted list. Then the sorted list will now give us this. So, but if you print the sorted list before sorting it, before reversing it, all right, it will give you see the original list, the sorted list in ascending order, and the reversed one, all right? So that is how it works. Okay, so you can also sort using custom key, all right? Let's say you would want to sort with a custom key. Now you have this array, banana, apple, cherry. You might want to sort them based on their length. Okay. Most of these things we are showing, you might not be using them often, but as you get advanced, you might be using them. There might be need for you to use them. So you might want to sort this array by their length. All right. You might want to sort them by their length. So you now say the sort, you now give it a key. All right. You now give it a key. Okay. So if you give it a key and you give it a key and you give it, say, length, it will sort this based on the length. Okay, it will sort this array based on the array. That means apple will come first, banana is 6, cherry is 6, so which B should come first too. So this will be the sorted one. So you can sort by key. Okay. Then, how do you copy? We also talk about copying a list. Okay, you might have a list and you might want to have a copy of it. There are several ways you can actually do this. Okay, there are several ways you can actually do this. You have a list, but you don't want to work with the original list. You want a copy of it. There are several ways to do this. You can use the copy method. Okay, you can call the copy method on the list. Okay, that's one way of doing it. And pardon me to use Visual Studio Code. All right. Now, yeah, this our editor is okay, but with Visual Studio Code, there are more things we can actually get. All right. This is not as big or as effective as Visual Studio Code. But when I use Visual Studio Code to teach, there are a lot of things I would see in Visual Studio Code that I would explain. So please pardon me to use Visual Studio Code. All right. I will go and open with code. Oops, sorry. Um, so I will open this in code. Okay, so I could just any of this script. Okay, so we are talking of copying, all right? So let's say I have this nums is equal to, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I want to copy. So if I call the copy method on this list, it will return the copy the copied. This is, I can say copy is equal to norms dot copy. So you can see Visual Studio Code is actually giving me IntelliSense. That is why I'm trying to use it. But don't bother. If you're still using your phone, it's okay. Manage the other editor we created in the website. But if you have Visual Studio Code, it will give you more, to give IntelliSense. Okay. So I can just select the copy. And if I open this, I'm going to get the documentation. It says that it returns a shallow copy of the list. Don't worry, we are going to talk about shallow and deep copying in our next session when we start talking about nested list. So it will just return a shallow copy of it. Okay, so now we'll have the original list. Now the original list still remains and the copy still remains. So if I go on and print the original list, okay. And let me just print let me just print something here. Okay, to demarcate it. Then I print the copy. All right, you're going to see that we have exactly the same thing. So if I save, I can either click on this run button. Okay, I can click on this run button and run this code. Let me take this guy up. You can, uh, sorry, it is supposed to print this thing 2 times. Okay, let me run it again. All right, so I'm going to clear. Okay, so I run again. You can see we have the original copy and we have the one that we just copied. So we have two copies now. So if you want to get a copy of a list, you can also use the list copy, the copy method. So in case I want to modify this copy, now the new copy, anything I do on this new copy will not affect the original copy. So let me say, let's say I call the reverse method on this. If I say copy dot reverse, okay. See, it's not going to affect the original copy, which is norm, will still be okay. It will not be affected. The only thing I'm actually modifying the list that I copied from the original array. So if I print it now, the original array will remain the same, but the copied one will not be, you can see it has been reversed and the original one remains the same. So if you want to have if you have a list and you want to have a copy of it, you don't want to mess around with the original copy, you want to keep the original copy, all you have to do is to use the copy method on the list and you get a copy of it and then do whatever you want to do with it. It will not affect the original copy. Okay, so this is one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is using the slicing method. So remember when we did slicing, when you have inside this square bracket, if you don't provide the start index and the end index, it will copy everything. So let's go and see how to also do it. Go to Visual Studio Code. I think I will have to take this one out. Okay, so instead of using the copy method, okay, I can just comment this. Instead of using the copy method, I can still say copy. I can say copy is equal to, then I will now call norms and I will use the slicing method. So I'm not providing the start index, I'm not providing the end index. So that is why, okay, let me zoom this thing a bit. Okay, is it too much? Okay, so that is why if I'm using the slicing method here, okay, I'm using the slicing method here. So with this, I did not provide the starting index, I did not provide the ending index, so it's going to give us the whole copy. So we'll still get the same thing what we are getting before. So I just have to clear this, okay? Then let me just use Python, then I'll run script, Python script.py. So it will run this script for me, and you can see um, oh, sorry, I didn't save it. That is why it's still printing out the reversed here. I didn't save my work. You see, this thing shows that I've not saved it. So I'll have to go and save it. After saving it, I'll run it again. And then you can see we now have the original copy, the first one printed here. And the second copy is the new copy that we just use slicing method. So you can use the copy method. You can also use the slice method, the slicing method. There's another method that you can also a copy method you can get from when you import it, but we are not going to talk about that one here. It can be a little advanced. We have not talked about modules. So, but in case you say anything like that, you can actually import a copy method from another module and use it. So you can also use the list method. So if you call the list method or the list function, if you call the list function on anything at all, it will convert it to a list. So now you can have you can have any whether it's a list, tuple, or dictionary, okay, you can actually, or even you can actually call the list method on it and it will return you a copy of it. So the next method. Now we are not going to use the copy method again. Okay, so let's try the list method. So I'm going to say copy, sorry, I'm going to say copy, and the next method we are going to use is I will call the list method, okay, and I would give. Okay, look at this. This is the reason why I like using Visual Studio Code. You can see I'm trying to use this function now, and Visual Studio Code is giving me a documentation. Don't worry, you will also learn how to write your own methods and functions and give it documentations like this. So you can see if I call it like this to return a list. So this means this arrow sign shows that is what is going to return. It's going to return a list. It is a built-in mutable sequence. So if no argument is given, the constructor creates a new empty list. So if I don't provide any argument here to give me a new empty list, okay, but the arguments must be iterable if that is specified. So I can also go for the second one. So if I provide anything here, it will create a list for me. So I can just say I give it nums. So with this, I have created a new list. So this will create a new list for me. Okay, it's creating a new list for me. This constructor is creating a new list for me. So if I run now, of course, I'll have to clear so that I can. So if I run now, you can see we also got a new list. Okay, so these are the different methods you can actually copy a list using the slicing method, using the copy method, and using the list constructor method. Okay, all right. So you can also check if a particular element exists in a list or not. So we call it the membership operator, the in and the not in operators. So with these membership operators, you can actually use it to check does an element exist in a list? Okay, so this is how to use it. You have this array, sorry, I'm calling array again. You have this list. Okay, so when you say is apple in list, if it is in fruits, okay, that means it will print it out. It will print true, it will return true. So this in operator, the membership operator, excuse me, excuse me, the membership operator, all right, returns true a Boolean value. So it returns true or false. So you can actually say, do we have apple in our list, or do we not have apple in our list? So the in and the not in operator will return true Boolean value. So let's go and see how to do it. So let me come up with a new list. So I will say fruits, and I will say um, In this fruit, I will have apple. I would have, sorry, I would have cherry. Okay. I will have orange. Okay, that's enough. So we want to check, all right, do we have mango in this our list? So if I say uh, mango, if I say mango, if I say mango in list, okay, so, oh, sorry, this is not, this is not the way to write Python variable, you see. I come from JavaScript background too, so that is why I can say mango in list. So I will now say, do we have mango? So this is how you check. You say mango in fruits. Okay, you can see this is going to, if I take my mouse over this, it's going to say, is look at what is returning. It's returning a bool. All right, so it's going to be true or false. Of course, do we have mango in this list? The answer is no, which is false. So if I go on and print, if I go on and print mango in list, it's going to give us false because we don't have mango in this list. So if I run this code now, it's returning false because we don't have mango. So what if we say mango not in list? Not in. We are saying, do we not have mango in list? So this will return true because we don't have mango in this list. Mango not in list. If I run this code, it will give us true because mango is not in this list. Okay, I can actually still say apple. If I say apple not in list, of course we have apple in the list, so you cannot say that apple is not in this list. So it's going to return false because we have apple in list. So you have to be careful while you're using this thing. So you can say it is false because apple is in this list, and we are saying, do we not have apple in this list? So if you want to check if apple is in the list, you can say apple in list. So apple in list will give us true. All right, so let me clear my terminal. Okay, so we can also try to do work with numbers. Let's see how we can find numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can now say, let me just, I don't know, I'm just so confused about the name I can give, but let me just use with any name at all. I can say 1 in nums. This will not work. Okay, let's see. Let's see. I assume that it should be in double quote. The one should be in double quotes, but let's try it. I've not tried this before. Okay, so if I save and run Python, I'm expecting an error. I'm expecting an error, but let's try and see if this works. Oh, it works. So now, because this is a number, I don't need to put it in double quotes. All right. And if I say 1.0 is in this list, no, it's not in this list because we don't. Let's just try it. We don't have 1.0 in that list. Now the thing is this: it will convert it will convert them to floats. Remember, when you're working with floats and integers, Python will convert all the integers to floats. So if I say 1.1, I believe this one will be false because we don't have 1.1 in the list because it's false. So the thing is this: when you're working with integers on floats, you don't have to put it in double quotes. But when you're working with strings, if the elements are string, then you can put it in double quote. I can also say true. If I can say is true in nums, it will give me true because we have the true. True is in nums. So if I save and run this, okay, it will give us true. All right. So this is how you actually use the membership operator, the in and not in. These are the membership operators. Okay. Please, if you have any confusion, always reach out to us. We're always available. Okay, so you can also find the maximum, the minimum, and the sum of the elements you have. So let's say you have these numbers in this list. You can find the maximum number, which is 40 here. You can find the minimum number, which is 10. And you can find the sum of all of them. Okay, so there's also another way of doing it using list comprehension, but we'll talk about it in the next session. Okay, so let's go and see how to get the minimum, the maximum, and the. So I have this list. So I have this norms list. So I can say norms dot max. Oops. Okay, I can say max. Okay, sorry, this is how to use it. Sorry about that. Then you put in the norms inside of it. So if I save, I have to clear my terminal. So if I run this, now it's going to give me the maximum. The maximum what we have here is 5. Okay, so there's no, let me take this through out. The maximum we have here is 5. I can go for the minimum. I can go for the minimum, and the minimum, of course, will be 1. I can go for the sum. Okay, so there's a whole lot you can do with all these things. Okay, the thing is that the more you work with Python, the more you see all these things. And the thing is this: ask for we have some ebooks we can give you. All right, please ask for it. We can give you the PDF version of it. We have some books we can give you that will help you understand Python better. Okay, so ask for the ebook. Chat us on WhatsApp and ask for the ebook. All right. So you can also find the index of an element. So if you want to find the index, now we have 10, 20, 30, 40. You want to find the index of a particular element. So how do you do it? You use the index method on the list. So I want to find the index of, let me find the index of the element 4. So I can say norms dot index. Okay. Norm dot index. I'm going to give it the value, the element I'm looking for. So the value, unless I'm looking for the index of 3. Okay. What is the index of 3? So if I save this and run it, it will give me 2 because yes, the index of 3 is in 2. All right. So 0, 1, 2. So it gave me the index. So I can actually save this index. I can actually save this index and I will say norms dot index. So in case I want to use this elsewhere, I can actually use it. So I can now come here and print index. Okay. So I can now come here and print index and I'm still going to get 2. Now, there is another version of this index method. If I do comma, all right, it's giving me where do you want to start and where do you want to stop. If I say I want to start from index 3 and I want to end at index 4. Now look at the magic here. You're looking for the index of 3, but you're telling Python, please do not start from do not start from the beginning. All right. I want you to start from index 3 and end at index 4. So index 3 is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 0, 1, 2, 3. So the index 3 is we are starting at 4. So from 4 till the 4th index, that is where we want to do this search. Now, if we run this code now, you'll be surprised that, all right, you're not going to get it again because now we are going to get an error. Yes, this is another thing I would also want to talk about. When you're trying to find the index of an element that does not exist, you get this value error. All right. Now, the thing is this. Why do we get this index? We told Python we are looking for index of 3, but don't start from the beginning. Start from the index 3. All right. This 3 is not the 3 element, the element 3. Okay, okay. Let me make this thing. If I say 10, 20, 30. Okay. Now I said I'm looking for index. I'm looking for the index of the element 30, all right, which is 3, 0, 1, 0, 1, 2. But I'm telling Python, start from, so if I say, look at it, if I do comma, you can see this says the start, this is the start index. Where do you want Python to start this search from? So we say, I want it to start from index 3, and then I want you to end at index 4. So this search is going to happen between index 3 and index 4. So between this 4 and 5. 4 is at index 3, 5 is at index 4. So this search will be between 4 and 5. And if you take a look at it, we do not have 30 between this range. We do not have 30 in this range. So that's why we got this error. So if you're looking for an index of an element that does not exist, it will throw a value error. So now, if I say, okay, I want you to start at index 1. All right, so index 1 is 0, 1. So from 20 down to the end, to the index 4. And if you look at it, within this range, we have the element 30. So if I save and run, we are going to get 8. Okay, so I hope you understand the difference here. So you can do more with this. Search for the index without giving the start index. Search for the index of an element without giving the start index and the end index. All right, the Python will start from the beginning of the list. But if you give it the start index and the end index, Python would search for this element within that range that you provided. Okay. All right, so you can also check the occurrences of a particular element. Now, as you can see, we have 10, 20, 10, 30, 10, 40. So we have more than one occurrences of the element 10. So if you want to get the count of how many 10 do we have in this list, you use the count method. So if I go on now and I go back to Visual Studio Code, I add 10 here. All right. So if I go and say, I'm looking for the count, num.count. I'm looking for how many occurrences of 10 do we have? Okay, so I have to change this to count and then this to count. So this is going to count how many occurrences of 10 do we have in this list. All right. Of course, it will give us how many? To give us 2. All right. So I think I can just clear. Then I run the code again. You see, it gave us 2. The count gave us 2. So if I try to find the count of 4, the count of 4 is how many? It's just 1. We only have 1. We only have 1. If I add more 4s here and add another 4 here, if I run this code now, we are going to get the count as 3 because we now have 3 occurrences of 4. So this is how you find the occurrences of a particular element. Now, the thing is, you see all these functions, all these things we are talking about here, you are not going to cram them. Yes. So most of them, you're going to forget how to use them. But the thing is this, the concept is in your head. So whenever even me as your teacher, teaching you this course, sometimes when I go back to answer the questions for this session, I'll be like, I have forgotten this thing. Now, it is normal. That is the normal life of a computer programmer. That is why we have references. So if you forget how to use any of them, you can just Google it. How do you find the index of a particular element? Google it and you get it back. And it will be easier for you to remember. But the more you now work with it, the more it sticks in your head. So, but basically, as you're starting this thing now, you might forget some of these things. Don't get frustrated when that happens. All you have to do is just Google it back or go back to this video. These videos will always be available. Once you have bought this course will always be available here as long as this company exists. Okay. All right. So you can also, there's something we call parallel iteration. So, you can actually loop through list. So if you want to loop through multiple lists simultaneously, you use the zip function. Remember we mentioned the enumerate function. So let me just recap. So let's say I have all this list. Sorry, I have this list and I want to loop through all of them and print them. I want to loop through all of them one by one and print them. So I'm going to use the for loop. Don't worry, we'll still talk about for loop. I will say for num in nums. Okay, with this, I can print each of the num. So with this, I'm looping through all the nums, all the numbers we have here. I will clear, then I'll run this Python again. So you can see it has printed all of them one by one. But if you also want to work with the index of each of these numbers, you can actually use the enumerate method or function. Enumerate, all right? This is how you use the enumerate, okay? Watch the syntax very well. So I will say the index comes first, all right? So I can also say, I can get the index, I can say index and print and the num. So it's going to print the index and the number. Okay, so I will just clear, then I will then print. So you can see the index is 0, 10, 1, 20. So this is the index. So in case you want to work with them, the index of your list, you can use the enumerate function. If you don't want to make use of it, just use the for loop and run it like that. Then what if you have, what if, let me do 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have two lists. You have names, okay, and you have John. Sorry, you have Ken. You have Uchi, okay, and you have they have to be of the same equal length too. If not, you get unexpected result. You have Sam. So then you have Ben. Okay. So if you want to simultaneously in parallel loop through all this the list, so this is what we can do. We can say for name, then comma num in zip. Okay, so give me a minute. Um, so okay, so the zip. So zip, I will pass in the names because that is the one I'm printing first, names and norms. Okay, this might be somehow advanced, but just try to understand it. Okay, then I can now print, I can print name and norm. So I'm working with this list. I'm looping through them at the same time. So, but if the first parameter argument you provide here is norm, you have to use norm here. Okay, so if I save this, clear my terminal, and run the code, you can see it printed John, then 1, Ken, then 2. So you see this name is coming from the names list, and then the norm is coming from the norms list. So if you try to switch it, all right, norms will come first. If I say norms, you have to be very careful how you use this. So if I mistakenly do this, okay, you will see that this name now will be, you can see, all right, the name you're using here doesn't matter. The variable name you're using doesn't matter because Python will take the first list and be putting it, the elements will be putting it there. So just be careful how you use it. Okay, so when you want to work with two lists at the same time, you can use the zip method. Okay, so it's okay. You might not be using this thing at this your level now, but just know that there is something that exists. So whenever you're writing a program and you come in, you were like you need to work with two lists at the same time. You can remember the zip and you can just go and Google it and see how to use it. So what happens if they are not of the same length? So this one is 5, this one is 4. Let's see what will happen. Let's see what will happen. Okay, you can see it stopped at 4. You see, it stopped at 4 instead of, but the other one is 5, but it stopped at 4. So when they are not of the same length, all right, the looping will stop at the shortest length. You can see this one stopped at 4 because our names is, the length is 4, but our norm, the length is 5, and the whole thing stopped at 4. So whenever you run it, one of the lists is shorter than the other, the loop will stop at the shortest length. Okay, so that is it. So this is how you work with multiple lists at the same time. So how do you convert a list and between lists and strings? This is very, very, very important. Okay, you will be using this a lot. See, list and strings, you'll be using them a lot. So how do you work with them? So let's say I have a list and I want to convert it to a string. How do I do it? Okay, so this is how you do it. All right, you would let me just show you. It will be best explained in code. To best explain in code. So now let's say I have these names and I want to convert it to string. I have this name list and I want to convert it to string. So what I will do is this. You can do now you how do you want to convert them? How do you want, what will be their separators? So here we want to separate them by comma. So what we are going to do is that we are going to open a string like this and put comma. Then we say dot join. Then we pass in the list. But this is going to return so this is going to return the call it anything, words, call it anything, is going to return a string. So when you print this out, all right, this is going to give you, you see, the elements of this list now, they will be converted to a string. Okay, so if I go on and print it, you can see we now have John, comma, Ken, comma, Buchi, comma, Sam. All right. So this is the separator. But if you do not provide anything, inside this string, all right, there will be no space. They are going to be joined together. You can see there is no space here. But if you say, I want a space, all right, when you print them, you're going to get space in between them. So what I'm putting inside here, what I am putting here, we call it the separator. So it's either you do an empty string like this, or you put a separator like this, okay, or you put comma. So it's up to you for your separator, or you do an empty string like this, a space like this. So this is how you actually convert a list to a string, okay? So all the elements of this list will now be joined together and they will form one string, okay? All right. So another way of doing, now we can also convert a string to a list. So when you have a string like this and you want to convert it to a list, you will use the split method. Okay, you use the split method. So let's say we have this word, which is the converted string. So if I want to convert it back to a list, I will say words dot split. I'll call the split method. But if you check, the split method can also take a separator. But if you don't provide a separator, Python is just, let's see what Python will do for us when we don't provide a separator. You can see there is, these words have spaces between them. So that is why we're having these spaces. So in case I do not provide space here and I just print it, you can see the way they are. See, if you do not provide a separator, Python is just going to convert this whole word to an element in the array. So look at what we got here. Because there is no separator, all right, we just got one string inside of the list. But if I provide a separator, of course, these guys do not have any separator. That is why. So if we have a separator here, okay, and without providing anything, Python would actually split it based on the comma they have there. And they are still a string. No matter the separator they have in there, they are still a string. So now, if you provide a separator, okay, so let's say that these guys have some spaces between them. As a sentence, there will be some spaces. So we want to separate them by spaces. So when I put an empty space, if I put a space inside of the split, providing the separator, if I run it, then Python is now going to create them as elements. So I want you to understand the difference here. When you do not provide a separator, all right, Python would create all of them as an element in a list. But when you provide a separator, okay, you have this, the words are actually separated by space, and we say separate them by the space, and we got this. If the words were separated by comma and you say separate them by space, it will not work because Python will not see any space. Okay, you see, Python is printing them as as a one single string element here. But since they are separated by comma, I will now say Python can split them by comma. Then Python will now create elements out of the string and we'll get plenty elements inside of here. All right. So please practice this thing, work with it. And if you get confused, please also reach out to us for more explanation. All right. So thank you very much. We'll see you in the next section. Please do your assignment, write your test. And if you have any confusion, please reach out to us. Okay. Thank you very much. We'll see you in the next session.